It is now less than 3 months away, and as the government looks for ways to cut the ballooning deficit, superannuation tax concessions are again under the spotlight. Also under the spotlight is the fairness of those tax concessions, in which the rich do much better than the poor. In fact, as one retired accountant discovered when he did the calculations, the numbers are startling. Andrew Robertson reports.
Steve Elliott retired as an accountant and IT professional 7 years ago. He now enjoys an idyllic lifestyle on Sydney's northern beaches thanks to his DIY super fund.
I've always been impressed about how much I didn't have to pay and what a lurk it was for me, and then I started to realise that the inequity was just probably very severe because I hadn't even looked at the top end of the spectrum because I'm nowhere near that.
Using his knowledge as a chartered accountant, Steve Elliott began to have that look at the top end. He was shocked by what he found.
The word obscene springs to mind. I thought there was a gross inequity, but nothing like the scale that I realised when I did the figures.
Steve Elliott calculated the superannuation accrued over a 43-year working life, and he added 20 years of payments in retirement. For a wealthy couple who make the maximum contributions from their first day at work, the tax saving is 40% of their super balance and payments, or a staggering $65 million. For a couple with a combined income of $100,000, it falls to 18%. At $70,000, the tax saving is just 14%.
One of the extraordinary things about our superannuation system is that, particularly for high income earners, investing in superannuation is even better than investing in owner-occupied housing, which is the other thing we think of as a highly preferred tax vehicle.
John Daley says Steve Elliott's tax calculations are plausible. They support the Grattan Institute's research, which shows that more than half the annual superannuation tax savings of $30 billion goes to the wealthiest households.
So you've got more dollars, you're getting a larger tax break per dollar, and so not surprisingly, the superannuation tax breaks, when you look at the total number of dollars, overwhelmingly go to the top 20% of taxpayers.
A case in point is former BHP Billiton chairman Don Argus, who last year settled a fight with the tax office over his self-managed superannuation fund. At the time, the fund was reported to have a balance of around $15 million. A pension of 6% of that fund would be $900,000 a year tax-free. Depending on the structure of the fund, that's a tax saving of up to $411,000, excluding the fund's earnings, which are also tax-free. But not everybody is convinced that the debate around superannuation tax breaks for the wealthy is the right debate. The body which represents Australia's more than 500,000 self-managed super fund owners says a much more important issue is a super system which gets as many people as possible off the aged pension.
We know, for instance, last year that superannuation saved the government about $9 billion on the aged pension. So our debate starts to change and we start to look at long-term thinking.
Which is why Andrea Slattery believes the government's talk of superannuation tax breaks and the budget deficit in the same breath is wrong.
Budgets and annual budget cycles are looking at short-term fiscal issues. How do we help the budget? Superannuation shouldn't be considered to be something that is actually a honeypot to use to fill a deficit.
Notwithstanding that, if the government got serious about ending super tax breaks for people who don't need them, it could cut Scott Morrison's budget deficit by $10 to $15 billion.